Hi, I'm Lauren Stone. I'm currently completing operations manager and ILM diploma level 5 at Steadfast Training. My trainer is Dave. Today's date is the 28th of April 2026, and this is my recorded professional discussion. Let me just go down to the correct assignment. So the unit that we will be discussing today is Unit 530, Understanding the Skills and Principles and Practice of Effective Management, Coaching and Mentoring. So, coaching is, what is coaching? Coaching is usually more about skills. So it's more about helping somebody achieve specific goals or improving their overall performance. It's usually a lot more short term um and done in short bursts. Where compared to like mentoring I know is very much long term. That's more overall development. So that could and it's very compared to coaching, it's very relationship based. So yeah, um mentoring is about like your overall development, where could you be supported, and that's normally coming from somebody who has more experience than you, more knowledge, more skills, so they can support the overall development of another individual. When I first started the council, I was actually mentored by a colleague who'd been at the council for a few years just to support my initial transition into the council. Currently being mentored by a senior mentor, um, which is just providing me those. Well, again, they've got a lot more experience than me, a lot of more years than me, in this organization. So they're just giving me that support, that guidance, um, yeah, to work on like my leadership skills and such. So, a coaching model that I use quite regularly actually is the grow model. And for me, it's something that's very straight to the point, it's very concise. And I just think straight to the point. It's very easy to, I think, to tell other people about it as well. So, it's just really focusing on setting goals, understanding what the current reality of those goals are, exploring options, and then agreeing those actions. So I prefer it because again, it's really clear, right, straight to the point, and I like how you take accountability of like, okay, what's the reality? Because I think a lot with like with coaching theories and such, it can be really hard to know the reality, where I like how this does take accountability for the reality, and have measurable outcomes because it is different per individual. So an example of me coaching an individual. So I currently have um a buddy, so that is where the graduates then train the graduates below them. So I'm currently training one of the graduates from the cohort one, coaching three from the cohort below me. So again, this is normally really short term. Um we just talk about um what skills they have, what tasks at hand, and how can we achieve that. They'll kind of, and then what I'll do, I'll just kind of ask questions about what they're going to do to in order to achieve that. So um for me, I find it really easy because so one of my coaches, they are in a placement I was previously in when I first started the graduate scheme. So I very much know what tasks are at hand because that is a very quite consistent placement. So then I'll ask them questions about, okay, how's it going? What are you going to do about this? You've brought this problem. What's the next step for you? Okay, let's talk about a goal of how we can achieve this, how we're going to do it. Let's make some smart targets, so we can look back at how measurable they are, if they actually are specific to the project, and such. So I would say that's what my coaching sessions with them are. My buddy sessions are like that with them. So then what we do is just create a few smart targets per session, and then we'll always look back and reflect and see from the next period that we've seen each other. So I tend to have those meetings um every 2 months, I'd say, once every 2 months. Um, and yeah, it's only just really for the first year on the course, on the graduate traineeship, and then after that, they'll conclude. But it's just to help them with their initial transition into the council. So we'll always have that for the first two placements. So yeah, um, we'll reflect on the progress, and then we can always adapt the goals to ensure that they're very much relevant to the task at hand. The next unit, so unit 531, improving own leadership performance through action learning. So action learning is a development approach where um, you're working on workplace challenges and reflecting on the actions taken in those challenges. Um, so yeah, um, focuses on learning from those experiences, I'd say. So it can improve your own leadership. So action learning can help you develop and improve leadership and management performance because okay, so for example, I was doing the Celebrating Success Awards. I've had to take a more directive leadership approach. I'm now in experiences that I've never had before. So I'm developing skills on how to reflect on how I've done things and what could have gone better, problem solving skills, skills on how to ask questions, speak with share stakeholders. I'm now speaking to stakeholders on a range of levels where before the stakeholders I was speaking to previously were all on the same playing field, where now there's a range. I'm speaking to senior or um all the way to facilities that for stakeholders I've never really spoken to before, and I've had to adapt my communication style to that. Um, and I've learned that through that experience. Without it, I wouldn't have known to do that. So yeah, the real life experiences that I'm having, and I'm having to learn actions from those direct experiences. So yeah, um, so yeah, there was a in another example, I was in a EDI bid for the National Lottery in my previous placement in adults, where we wanted those from a EDI ethnic minority background to have support um and basically a direct route to having access to dementia support, because there was a gap in our services for that, and we was going to apply for that bid to help us support that and focus on that group. So in those meetings, a lot of the time, a lot of people didn't know really what was happening, what was going off. There's, everybody's got their own job roles, and it's really hard to then take on other projects. I mean, yeah, it's really hard to, especially when it's not necessarily directly impacting the work that you're doing or have anything directly to do with the work you're doing. So we did lose a lot of stakeholder engagement. So we did have to I had to tailor my communication approach in order to engage them back so that they were invested in it. We were getting meetings with different ranges of stakeholders, colleagues who did something similar before, to come in and discuss with our stakeholders who we needed to support us with this project. And yeah, we had to I had to adapt my leadership style. So instead of having a more collaborative approach, it was more again directive, because I had to get other people to come in and speak with them, and had to really ask them for, okay, we're going to need this data at this date, we're going to need this to back up this, and XYZ. That then had to change just so then we could keep that engagement, because I found that when it was collaborative and when we was kind of working together, it was more of a case where people was then feeling less engaged because they felt like other people were collaborating and they didn't necessarily need to do that as much. So in order to direct and be more authoritative, I was able to say, okay, this stakeholder here, we're going to need this at this date. This one over here, we're going to need this from this date to support this. And yeah, the project went really well. We applied for the bid, and we did actually get granted some bid money, so it was a successful outcome as well.